I'm not sure what she said to me. Have a look at that.
Okay. So.
Slides afterwards.
Right, where is? No, I've lost track. How do I get back to? Not used to Adobe. No. Had it before, didn't I? But is this what you do? Select, cancel.
Full screen.
Yeah, I know. I just had it a minute ago, didn't I? Yes. He's just gone, hasn't he? Guess I can pan. Does anyone else know how to use Adobe as a PowerPoint presenter?
On mine, down at,
Yeah, I would download it.
down at the bottom, there's a.
Yeah.
And then just why don't you just go into the red PowerPoint there with that work?
Is it? So download it. Download this file.
That's what I did.
Okay.
And they go into that.
Oh, that's it there. Ah, that's
Yeah,
it.
no.
Sorry.
No,
Now I can. Yeah.
You go into full slide.
Okay. So now we can begin. Finally. Yeah. Is everybody in? Okay. We're all ready. And you can actually. Yeah. Yeah. I'll. For the slides guy, just tell me to the next slide and I'll do it. Yeah. Thank you.
Guy Parker Rees, who's doing our keynote today for the conference, and we are thrilled to have a children's illustrator, a really well-known children's illustrator here. And there's lots of connections with Goldsmiths and with me personally. So saying a little bit about Guy Parker Rees, when he talks about it on his website, he says, creating picture books is a magical process. So let's go back to what I was saying at the beginning, just about kind of the magic, the unexpectedness, what happens when we take a plain piece of paper or a sketchbook and start to draw. And so we're going to be thinking a little bit about that as we go through the keynote. A guy also says, when a story is good, ideas just leap into my head and all I have to do is scribble them down. I really like that idea. Just kind of, and I think that often is the creative process of just kind of really imagining new things and, you know, exciting things. And so we're going to be thinking about feelings. And again, Guy talks about a vibrant, bouncing line. So we're going to be thinking back what I said about vibrant matter and also kind of like how we work with one of the guys' particular loves is story panels. So we're probably going to have a look at some of the famous characters that he's created. Some of you may know Giraffes Can't Dance, and some of you may also know one of his latest characters, Dylan. But what also I can't introduce Guy without talking a little bit about the personal connection. I got this book from Guy probably about 10 years ago when he came to my house and sort of said, look what I'm doing here. And I was kind of thrilled to get this. And so I still have it in my bookcase. It's called The Great Big Treasure Hunt. But Guy and I go back a lot longer than that. So over 40 years ago, we met each other on the first day of university at New York. And we studied English together. Guy studied English and philosophy. I did English and education. And we shared a house with 2 other people, 4 of us in a house in York for 2 years. So with great pleasure, I welcome Guy back to Oh, well, here to Goldsmiths for the first time.
She hasn't changed a bit. Well, thank you very much. I'm really honoured to be asked along to this. And it's been really interesting for me to think about creativity and sort of try and get some of these sort of jumbled ideas together. Because I think it's sort of really fascinating. I think doing something creative is one of the most joyous things you can do. And so I just wanted to talk a bit about sort of themes and ideas that have come up whilst I've been thinking about this, and share a little bit with you about my process and how I go about coming up with ideas and things. So what I'm going to do, and I find there's sort of two main themes came up actually as I was thinking about it. One is linking back to your childhood. I think I'm very interested to hear this talk on psychoanalysis and creativity later, because I think it all goes back to your childhood really. And the other is the connection with nature. And it's all about connecting with other people and with nature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about my creative process of it and the growth of the ideas. I'm going to read a story, if I've got time. It might not be time, so how it goes. And then you're going to help me devise a brand new picture book character. Yeah. And then I'm going to give you all a piece of paper, and you're going to make up your own animal picture book character. Who here feels, the idea of having to do your own drawing in public space filled with terror at that prospect? Anyone? Yes. A lot of people, when my main audience when I do this sort of talk is to sort of small children, primary school children. And children at that age, they don't judge themselves. There's a sort of openness and a lack of worrying about starting drawing, which gives them a whole freedom in their sort of expression. So I hope that some of that terror can be used and channeled. And in a way, it is all part of the creative process, and it's important to go through that. I'll talk a bit more about that later. So can I take the first slide?
Yeah, next one, yeah.
Yep. So, special effect. This is my favourite quote about creativity. It's always easiest to put off actually doing what you want to do. It's something you're meant to do. There are always reasons, always Instagram reels that need to be looked at. Annoying in the trial. I think that, and the conditions always seem impossible. It's always a struggle. Can we have the next slide? So this is the sort of thing I do. I like to draw animals, mainly because I think everyone likes animals. There's a sort of universal quality to them. It makes them accessible to everyone. It's not one particular topical context. And I think everyone likes animals. They're fun to draw. I think when you think a bit back, if you can all think back to your favourite books from childhood. I mean, I think for me, they have a real magical quality, and you remember them as a sort of being some magical sort of glow around them. There's a book I loved as a child called Teddy Bear Coleman. I looked at it recently, and illustrations aren't that great, but there's one image in it which the teddy bear sitting is a Coleman, basically delivers coal, and there's an image of Greg's tall leader. But I love this image of him sitting cosily by the fire at the end of his day, and that's sort of something which I carried with me as a sort of image of being okay, really, being sort of when things are difficult. So, carrying an image like that with you, things, it can be something that sort of sustains you through your life. So one of my favourite quotes is by William Blake's "Exuberance of Beauty." I think I like natural exuberance. I think really creating, celebrating, being alive. Dancing animals seems to be my favourite medium. And that, it seems to be an expression of joy, the joy of being alive. We're only on this planet for a tiny little flicker of eternity. So creativity for me is about celebrating that. What's the joy of being alive, really? Which is not always easy, but it's good to be alive. It's my latest book, illustrated with Giles Andre, who wrote Giles Can't Dance. I've done a few books And it has to be, this can be a sort of background, it's talking about creativity, he goes through a sort of creative process in the story. I'm going to use it as a sort of background. So Dave is not like other bears. He's not big and he's not tough. His brother Clarence is a big, strong grizzly bear, and he tries to do everything like that grizzly bears should do, but he just can't do it. He fails miserably. And then one day he sees this cloth fabric. It inspires him. He loves the colours and patterns on it. It's just sort of hanging in the tree. And he goes and gathers lots of reeds and grasses and flowers. And he goes into his cave. And so he goes into his cave and all the animals think, what's he up to? What's he doing in there? And no one knows. So what happens when you go, when you're involved in the creative process, and how can you help facilitate that? I mean, I'm so I'm just going to share a few sort of ideas and thoughts I've had along the way of things that help me. I mean, I think the main thing is to follow your curiosity. I mean, there's something, it's like I always think of like, the sort of deer book or something, there's sort of antennae there. Imagine you've got these sort of antennae that they're very sensitive to anything that just attracts your curiosity. And you might not know why. The way the light shines on someone's expression, a phrase, a bit of some words, and you don't know why it catches your attention. It's got a certain sort of interesting quality to it. And it's very easy for that just to pass and slip away. I think if you're going to get engaged in the creative process, you need some sort of net or way of catching that and just holding it for a minute. That might be a sketchbook or jotting some ideas down on the phone, or it could be anything. I think just sort of catching those sort of ideas and following your curiosity and seeing where it goes. And then there's certain other sort of themes around creativity. I think you've got to be bold. You've got to take risks. You've got to jump in and do things out of your comfort zone. And I think Picasso described, if you do a good style of painting, you can replicate that style. If you find something that works, you can replicate that, but you're not really creating. You've got to sort of destroy what you've done before and move on to something new. And doing that, I think everyone goes through a process of, that sort of U-shaped curve. They start off with an idea. Right, this is brilliant. I'm so creative. It's wonderful. I'm full of ideas. And gradually you think, oh no, this isn't working. I've run out of ideas. Nothing's working. And so it goes down and down. You get into this sort of pit of despond. There are loads of books out there. Why do I even bother? What's the point? I can't do it anymore. All the bookshelves are filled with Julia Donaldson books anyway. What's the point of doing? And I think in the creative process, it's really important to stay with that. I'll talk a bit more about this later, but I think it's about staying with difficult feelings. If you don't engage with difficult feelings and stay with it, I think 90% of creativity is perseverance. I think we, my brothers and sisters, all drew when we were children. I just carried on doing it. And I think it's partly, you need to still learn some sort of craft along the way and how to do it. Also, just perseverance, keeping on going, somehow having faith you can do it. And I don't know where that comes from, just the belief that you can do it. Usually, I guess it's someone in your life who's been encouraging to you. For me, it was, I had a very privileged background, really, but in quite difficult childhood, really, in terms of my family home. And school was different. There's one teacher, primary school teacher, who just got us all to play, basically. I think she told me later, I met her later. She said that she was quite told off by a headmaster for not sticking to the curriculum. But it's a godsend for me. It's a place where I could be myself and be, I don't know, to do stuff that I wouldn't normally do. So I think maybe you need some significant person in your life to give you that sort of voice. But I'm sure we all find it within us somewhere. The other part of the creative process, you need fallow periods. You need to be bored. That period of looking out the window, nothing's happening, not getting any ideas. It's linked to the perseverance. And everyone writes about this, or sort of writes about this. And it's quite reassuring. You know, all artists describe that sort of, they're honest, that's crisis of confidence as well. You know, Picasso used to sort of have terrible crisis of confidence. He couldn't do it anymore. And relying on the sort of women in his life to sustain him. But, you know, sort of linked to that is this sort of fallow period, getting bored, which is sort of terrifying. The children don't get that now. You know, if you're always entertained, you've always got to scream. You don't find myself doing it. You don't have that time of just sort of, you know, your mind sort of drifting and wandering and letting new things, you know, coagulate in your mind. So my way of dealing with things, and I do feel really flawed. We're not page, I think we used to because the thing really was get a large piece of paper, get an A2 piece of paper, and I just doodle. I don't think about it. I try and turn off my brain. I think this can work with writing as well, free associating and just sort of free writing. But it helps me, the fact that it's a larger piece of paper means I'm not as bounded in some way. And I can just let things emerge. And it takes perseverance, sometimes it doesn't work. But just, you know, letting your unconscious sort it out, I think is sort of 50% of the task as well. Because it's a huge resource, really. And it's just, you know, tapping into that, tuning into that. I think you do have to go back into childhood. I mean, it'd be interesting to talk about psychoanalysis. I've trained as an art therapist as well, actually. I worked as an art therapist for a while, but then I selfishly wanted to do my own work. But some ideas of Winnicott about how creative process that is trying to connect that contact of where you came from, that sense of when you're a child and everything was, you weren't separate from the world around you. And with the space between as you become individuated, become a person, you're separated from that, which is a good thing, obviously. But there's a longing to reconnect and have that sort of connection to the world. And that's why I see creativity as a connection to nature and connection to other people. You know, if you find some way of some creative outlet to poem or something that other people can resonate to, you know, it's a wonderful. Or if you're reading a poem, it sort of captures something. You feel that someone thinks like you do. It's that sort of connection to the universal that I think creativity is that, and the sort of creative object that you've written in a poem or something, is the sort of bridge between the universal and your individual. So anyway, I think those are my thoughts about creativity. But interesting, I think it's about dying creativity. I mentioned it. I think you've got to going through that difficult phase where you can't do anything. You feel really stuck. It's a bit like dying. There's on the other, because there's a book called Dying and Creating by Rosemary Gordon, which I find very interesting. And it's your old ego, your personality dying in order to create something new. And that's why you need these very difficult feelings. A lot of people describe the sort of creative process as going down to the sort of underworld, into sort of dark place, you know, that's unconscious or whatever, in order to be reborn. So it's not an easy sort of splashing about with paint, having fun all the time sort of process, I don't think. Although, you know, there are elements of that. I'll come on to that. So anyway, get back to our story. Here he is in his cave, being creative, engaging in creativity. But all the animals think, what's he doing? And he calls all the animals together, and he's got a gift for them, a present for his brother, his big, strong bear brother, Clarence. He gives it to him. Clarence looks at it, and he finds it's a cloak that they've made. And he tries it on, and he looks at it. It's a beautiful, colourful cloak. But you don't know whether he's going to like it or not. That is it's beautiful, Dave. You know, you made something that's truly yours and it's truly you, and you know, it's braver than something I could ever do. So it's quite nice thing about sibling support rather than most a lot of folks about sibling rivalry, aren't they? Picking up the next phase. So he gets all the animals into his cave. They all try on different capes and robes and things. And next time they parade through the next time.
Next step.
They all parade through the night. So it ends with the next slide. But they all, if you see some, don't be surprised you see, you go into the woods to see birds in magnificent clothes, being happy as happy can be. So this is my sort of image that I wanted to create a powerful image about, but there's also this sort of metaphor, is this sort of daisy chain he makes at the beginning, because he's not struggling with sort of more rigid definition of masculinity, I guess. At the end of his father puts a daisy chain on as well. So this is a sort of image of intimacy I wanted to sort of create, so like that teddy bear by the fire, positive image, yes, powerful positive image. But I think that giving that thing where he gives the parcel, and you don't know whether his brother Clarence is going to like it or not. It's very important because you make yourself very vulnerable when you're creative, don't you? You've got to open up and share something that's sort of personal, maybe. Well, I mean, I guess it's got to be personal to be really valuable. You don't know whether that's going to be rejected or not. So I quite like that image of vulnerability in the store. So can we have the next slide, please? So this was a puzzle. Oh yeah, this is just to show my page. This is how I work. I use quite old school. Try and Photoshop things and put them together a bit now, but I still use sort of oil pastels and watercolors and things. And I love that, it's talking flow. When things are working, when colours are going right, and you catch an expression or something, I mean, it's a wonderful feeling. That's when you get that feeling of connection, which I think is very addictive. And I like the way watercolours go down. I think there's something quite emotional about the way the colours blend into each other. And there's the fact it's all a bit random. You never know exactly how it's going to work, with the way the water's going to move. It's interesting to put it down. The next slide, please. This is my first ever picture book. I used to want to be an elephant when I was very small. My mum said that might be a bit problematic, so I ended up making books and stories about them. Still doing it 60 years later. I don't know how old I was, but yes, childhood. So this is an interesting thing which I think is a bit of a puzzle for me, and maybe help me unlock it. I've done lots of illustrations, and I found some pictures that I've done as a child in my mum's attic, and I've totally forgotten about these pictures. And so it's quite spooky that they're actually quite similar to the sort of images I'm doing now, even though I thought it's coming up totally new, fresh, original compositions and ideas. There is actually a sort of similarity. So can you have the next slide, please? This painting I did of a giraffe that's against a tree, quite similar from the page from Giraffes Can't Dance. And the next one. Got this book called Spooky Rompers, there's some witches. And I really thought as being original with this square done with witches, squared off shoes. I thought, I'm totally unaware of the fact that I had actually drawn in that way, decades before. And the next one. That dragon and that T-Rex. Is it just coincidence they look so much the same? And the next one. I liked doing books with lots of animals in them, and I'm still doing books with lots of animals in. What's the next? I can't remember so I don't know, what does this mean? What's it sort of? I feel there's something there. I was trying to put my finger on it, and it's sort of something about connecting with your childhood. That I think is really important for creativity, and it is partly going back to the time when you're much, the things are you're much less worried about other people's judgments about what you're doing. As I say, children will sort of draw and paint quite freely, and it's partly maybe this is more of that saying, give me a child for the age of 7 and I'll give you the man sort of person. Maybe everything's formed by then, and then you're going back, and that's your paradigm for looking at the world, and your emotional sort of framework. It doesn't mean you can't change. Difficult things happen in childhood, but that's the sort of structure with which you see everything around you in the world. I think there's something in there though. Also, psychotherapy is about telling your story. I think when I was at York, actually, I did a paper on, I wrote a paper on patterns of story. And one of the things was sort of stories as a way through madness. Because if no one's told your story, then you're in sort of chaos, aren't you? This is why, you know, having diverse voices in picture books and writing and everything is so important. You've got to sort of create the map for other people to, you know, to show your experience of how you cope with really difficult situations, help other people through it. And, you know, all of us go through times where life just feels impossible. We don't know what to do, who to turn to. And I think stories can show you a path through that. The sort of path, and it's a map. Shows you a way that hasn't been done before, you know. Okay, so there's some like thoughts that came up on the way. I can talk to you now a little bit about my process and how I've come up with an idea. So I'm going to talk you through one idea I came up with for a story and how it happened. But it's one of the first things I do when I get someone else's story, when I'm thinking of an idea, is I want to get a character that you can identify with. I think this is a way of engaging that emotional part of yourself, the childhood part of yourself. You've got to care that the person goes through this story. So I'm just going to show you a few of the characters in different books. So I do this painting, I do lots of sketches to get the character. And I do a lot of painting the character before I start anything else in the process. So I'm just going to show you a few of them quite quickly to whiz through. Okay. So this is Mucky Ducky, a duck who likes to get very muddy. I enjoy doing this splashing paint around. And the next one, I'll just go through these ones. This is my book Elephant Me, a little num num. This is about identity as well. All the elephants are given names about what they're good at. He's not really doing anything, can't work out what they're good at. Sort of goes away feeling really fed up. All his friends there say, well, actually, you're friendly, you're kind. Surely those are good qualities. Goes back and tells Elephant Mighty, you know,
Sorry, Francis, we can't hear you.
Can you-
be anything else.
Hang on.
Back to Elephant Mighty, starts to cry. Tail comes out, throws off his crown and said, I'm sick of being the king, I want to be free. Really, it's a little bit like the story of Meghan and Harry.
I can hear. Yeah, I think most people can hear. You just have to adjust the settings on your computer. Sorry.
Because we've lost the sound.
Oh,
for-
Oh yeah.
for a moment.
Sorry.
Anyway, so basically I'm going to go images of the characters. Character art.
Sorry. Just apologies. I just I'm sharing the screen, and then we're fine. Yeah. We are from current slide.
Yeah, but this is a little bottom bump based on my two oldest children. How their little one to boss the older one around with it. The next one. Well, this is a book called Fabulous Pie about a very bad bear. So when I'm drawing characters, it's really important to get expressions and gestures right. Lots of time spent, you know, in the mirror trying to putting faces and trying out gestures. He's a bit of a pantomime baddie. He's sort of, you know, he's got an evil plan to eat all his forest friends, basically. Next one. This is a Chucky the chimpanzee. He goes travelling and has a seed, a special seed, which he brings home to this town he lives in called Drabsville. And the children there plant it. It grows into this wonderful sort of happy town. Brave little penguin. That penguin was scared of jumping into the water. The dad tells him he's being silly, but his mum is loving encouragement. Helps him to do it now. The next one. So I'm going to tell you about this character, Dylan. Because two of my boys are called Dylan. First one is the second one, but my third Dylan, I really like the name. It's like Dylan Thomas one of my favourite poets. I think that thing about connection to nature, the green fuse that through the green fuse, green fuse that through the, I can't remember. I'll remember it by the end. Anyway, look it up. My favourite poem, and Bob Dylan, and Dylan from the Magic Man's Out. But anyway, when my youngest child was born, one of his brothers, deal with sibling rivalry and stuff, gave him the toy striped sausage dog. And I looked at the striped sausage dog and was sort of, coming up with ideas. I like the way the sort of coloured circles defined his body. So I'm going to make up my own dog character with sort of coloured stripe going around it. So I did this sketch of Dylan, and he's on my studio wall for long. It's a character. I don't know, again, that thing about magic. There's something about this character I like. Yeah, the story to tell is the person. He's doing so. I liked him, and but I didn't know what his story was. And then I thought I wanted it to be about play. So what I said before about children looking at iPads and things all the time, and learning, reading that children don't engage in going outside and playing in the countryside as much, and don't engage in sort of role play with their friends, pretending to be a doctor or a shopkeeper or something. So I wanted it to be about play. Can you see the next one? Well, first of all, I sort of did, my strategy for dealing with things, trying to work out what the story is and who he is, what sort of world he lives in. Again, trying to turn my brain off a bit and just doodle away and see what comes up. So just give these sketches. Can you see the next one? There's a few of these. I'll just go through these quite quickly. So, sort of being happy out in the countryside seems to be coming up. And the next one. Just enjoying being outside in the open air. I find nature actually a real source of creativity, regeneration, and when you're feeling blocked, and inspiration. Really, I think for ideas. It's something magical about being outside. I think everyone should have more access to the sort of countryside. It really is. Happy and playful. And so I took it to the publishers. And then one publisher I spoke to, Alison Green, said, well, we like this character, but maybe we could do a few stories around him. Maybe you could have a gang of friends. And then, so I had to think of, who the gang would be. So again, I just sort of doodle away and see who comes up, basically. So, these are my very rough. Oh no, this is the story. So I'll just tell you, the first story, he had a pet boy, always watching TV at the time. I do love TV, by the way. I'm not really anti-TV and anti-technology. But he's fed up and he wants to play outside. So he grabs the remote and runs off with it. And his boy has to follow him. His boy has such fun playing outside. He wants to stay playing outside. And Dylan gets tired and wants to go back to lie on the sofa and watch TV. But anyway, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, it starts raining and it goes back. The boy wants to stay outside. Next slide. Yeah, so I took it to publishing. She said, yeah, we like this idea, but maybe he had a gang of friends who could open it up and have more than one story. So just sort of doodle away and see what comes out. And this little chicken merge. So this based on one, this sort of kept on coming up. And I'm trying to think of how the world will work, how I'm going to present this natural environment. Well, I want it to be loose. And Vicky mentioned this sort of vibrant line. There's something about sort of looseness and energy and playfulness, that vibrant line that I always aspire to. The next one, please. He's like one of these Easter chips, really, like Woodstock and Snoopy as well. And so it had that character, and then I kept on doodling to see who the other characters were. This purple puss came up. So that was the other character, and then I was really stuck with the other character. Again, you see what's I'm just showing you my process a bit here. So I just do lots of doodles and see what sort of ideas come up with the other character, the fourth in the gang. And next slide, put very stuff with it, and eventually a sketch of an otter came up, so it turned into Jolly Otter. There it is. So can I have the next slide? So that's and there's also this character called Dotty Bug, who gets to join in the story, ask you questions like if all the characters are skipping or saying, can you skip? So that. And next slide. So there's the gang. Next slide. Yeah, also as an illustrator, you've got a wonderful opportunity to really create your whole world, like a film director or something. You really are sort of in a position of being able to create what you want in terms of what people look like, what they do, the world they live in. So to think what sort of house they live in, I knew you'd have some sort of camera that would be striking. But the next, I live in Brighton, so I thought maybe it'd be like the Brighton Pavilion. That wasn't quite right. The next time. Eventually ended up having a sort of striking lighthouse. So that's very good. So can we have the next slide? So this just to show my sort of process of coming up with a story and writing the stories. So when you're stuck writing a story, I think words don't come very easily to me as easily as the pictures, but I do write some of them. And I actually sort of I do a similar sort of thing. I just write and see what comes up. But then you have to think of the structure. Picture books, I love picture books because they're a very defined structure. You've got 32 pages, which in 12 to 15 spreads. It's almost like a sort of sonnet or something. You've got to do something, get words and pictures to work together. And you've got to be very careful with the rhythm and how you turn the page. It's interesting. It's a very sort of, it's a structure that you've got to be you need a lot of craft to get it to work. And so that's where a brilliant editor comes in. So I have my idea of it. I'll take it to the editor, spend an afternoon eating strawberries on a sofa and backing ideas around. And she's a genius. She'll sort of bring it into this perfect sort of format and move things around. So maybe that can happen a bit later. So it's very much a team effort making a book as well. I've input batting ideas around the design as well. So I've always, I did a long time ago, set up a mural painting cooperative in East London. And I've always liked sort of doing painting with other people. And I think, although I work on my own maybe all the time now, I think that part of the process where you're batting ideas around and connecting with other people, I think it's such a joyous way of working. It's my favourite part in a way. So anyway, I think very clever. I do lots of little sketches of what's happening on each page, and I might do 10 versions of the book or something. But actually do them bigger and bigger until they're the right size before I start painting them. So it's a long, quite arduous process. But then fourth book, all about role playing play, and it's very, who knows where a simple idea like that will go. It's actually taken up by an animation company, and then it's taken up by Warner Brothers. And they're making a series of 52 animations about it. It should be out in 2024. And what I'm really excited about is that Warner Brothers are setting up this sort of part of their a block screen time for more sort of useful educational useful content. So this is going to be about, and they stuck to the idea of it being about play. It's almost like a curriculum. It's in the 52 episodes. He stuck to the idea and the world, and it's about almost teaching children how to go and play. So it gets children involved with what they're doing. They pick up things you can find like a cardboard tube, and that interact. So it turns into a sort of telescope or something. So it's really exciting. They kept a sort of ethos. So they've all got American accents. It's annoying, but next. Oh yeah, all this connection with nature. I've just been illustrating some books by Michael Morpurgo, because he does this thing, getting people from inner cities who sometimes have no experience of being in the countryside out to stay on a farm for a week. And these stories are all based around that setting, which is brilliant. Because I love drawing from natural things. So it's going to be 4 books. It's a World Book Day book, which is fun. And the next page is they're black and white. So it's all about this feeling really, being outside and connecting to nature is very much for me is like engaging in the creative process. opening yourself up to the world, you know, seeing what's coming there and sort of experiencing the hugeness of opportunities. So next. I was going to read that, but I'm not sure we're going to have time actually. So, but I did want to do something practical. So I don't think when I have an audience of small people, I always get them up and moving about and doing stuff. I think you're all sitting there a little bit complacent. So you're all going to draw your own picture book character. But first of all, you're going to help me come up with a brand new picture book character that's never been seen before. And the best way, I should have meant to say this at the beginning actually, the best way to enjoy it all is just to regress to being such a small child. And allow that sort of silly part of yourself out and have fun doing it. So usually I'll call out and say, can anyone think of an animal for me to draw? So I want lots of ideas, please. And basically I keep going until I come across one.
Aardvark.
A what?
Aardvark.
Lovely idea. And then I'll move on, you see. So any more ideas, please? Skunk, lovely, yes.
Butterfly.
Octopus. I did talk about an octopus. What's
Butterfly.
a gazelle? Lovely, yeah, gazelle. A guinea pig, lovely. A gazelle. I think I'm trying to think about one that's sort of about creativity. I think the gazelles have this delicacy and magical quality. What about a sparrow? A sparrow? Yes, it could be. A whale? Yep, right.
Worm.
Worm. Excellent. I think I'm going to do a gazelle actually because it's
A magpie.
about the fragility of a gazelle, which I like.
Someone saying, what's that you said online? Say that again.
A magpie.
Magpie.
A magpie.
Magpie.
Any more ideas online? I do sometimes keep this.
You can put stuff in the chat. I can read it.
I'm going to get you to come up with your own.
A coelacanth. What's a coelacanth? Coelacanth.
A fish that's only just
Fish.
been discovered.
A fox.
Yes. It is fish, yeah.
Should I do a fox or a gazelle?
Fox. Gazelle.
Hands up if you want a fox. This is more like it. No. Hands up if you want a gazelle.
Oh,
I think gazelles have.
we're going to have an urban
So whilst I'm
gazelle.
doing this, is this a happy gazelle?
Right,
or
I'm
a
gonna-
sad gazelle? What's this feeling? What's the feeling of this gazelle? Feeling what? A fancy. Very posh gazelle. Okay. What should we say? A sad gazelle. Could it be both? Posh, do you say? Now, why is the gazelle sad? Just trying to think visually how to do a posh, fancy gazelle. Okay, so what's the
There's pearls, I was thinking of that.
doing a pearls? Excellent. This is what I mean, like batting ideas around.
A hat.
What sort of hat? Top hat? I don't know. Lovely. Lovely. Okay, I'm getting it. So whilst I'm drawing this gazelle character, I always like to think of a really good name for the character. So don't say it now, but think of a good name for this character, and also think of what you're going to draw for your character. Because once I finish doing this, I'm going to give you all a piece of paper. You're going to have 5 minutes to come up with I'll tell you a bit more about how to do it, an animal character. Okay. So I'm a little bit, this is not my usual medium. It's something like. Don't worry if you can't see, because I'll be sort of moving around. Quite long faces. What line we're doing. Hopefully, we'll talk about animal character you're going to draw.
You're going to draw something. Gary the gazelle, Ritzy the horse.
No, it's finished. Too early.
Too early.
Those are the online ones.
Online. Yeah.
Oh. Actually, I haven't done very sad. What's that?
Maybe if something like Shakira, like one who plays guitar in the
This has got an original character. No?
Really, I love that idea of the pearls. But also they're incredibly high out.
I was going to say twin set of pearls. So you believe the twin set. And that's it. It's really.
And the gesture.
Yes, yes, it is.
You sort of have netty things on them as well. As I said, you know, if it doesn't work out, if you make mistakes, I always think mistakes are your friends because it shows you how to do it better next time. So don't worry too much. It didn't work out. And what sort of world does Adele live in?
Cross.
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 Actually, I remember it years ago.
Yes, it's overgrown new cross.
Overgrown new cross, okay, all right. I can be drawing my overgrown new cross. It'll just be a city environment. One, no, be specific about a particular location. Whilst I'll be doing that background whilst you're doing your drawing. So what I'd like you to do, has everyone got a piece of paper?
We've got some A4 here. And we've got some pencils if people want as
You
well.
don't have a choice about this.
I thought 9 or 10 have a choice. 9 or 10.
Okay.
Because they have a choice. Who's the voted?
So what I'd like you to do is sort of try and regress and be, you know, this is your chance to deal with all those people who told you can't draw. Tell them where to go.
Got a few more pencils left.
I want you all to hold up your pencils and say as loud as you can, I am an artist.
I am an artist.
Much louder.
Anybody need
I am an artist.
I am an artist.
I can get much louder noises. I won't make you do it again. But you are all artists. One of the best advice I ever got was when I was doing my art therapy course. I'm doing the art in the studio bit. Peter Walker said, your canvas is the centre of the art world. Don't worry about what's going on anywhere else. This is the centre of the art world, what you're creating. I think that's very good advice. Don't worry about making mistakes. If you make something wrong, see if you can change it into something else. Happy accidents are one of the most exciting things about drawing. And don't worry if it doesn't work out this time, you know, next time. Just have fun doing it. Make a mess and play. And see what characters you come up with. You never know where they might go. Meanwhile.
That's a good rabbit. Just.
I can't think of any landmarks in Newcastle, I'm afraid.
There's Warmington Tower. That's the big tower block right next to here. It's just a tower block.
There's also the Spiral building that's part of Goldsmiths just
Yeah.
over there. It's got a really
And the
big
Richard
spire.
Hobbit building,
Yeah.
which is a sort of like a school almost. And Telegraph Hill.
Market.
And Market.
It's a little green space as well,
Uh,
created by what's that? Yeah. Little park.
Fordham Park.
Yeah. There's also one that Goldsmith students have created. Mine. Oh, legs are really long.
And I would dip behind the bush.
Oh, yes. It's a bit like, we've got to create a hill to put the legs to.
Well, I hope that people are enjoying the process and getting over their terror of drawing, those people who had that previously. suppose we need some time for questions as well. Maybe we could do it at the same time as people are drawing. Once I start drawing vegetation, I find it difficult to stop. Then I thought a good name for my gazelle. Genevieve. Right. Right. Gary.
Alfreda.
Alfreda. Anyone? Oh.Latty, lovely.
Gladys.
Gladys.
Nancy.
Nancy. Francis. Francis.
He's the troublemaker. He's the psychotherapist, by the way, Guy. He's giving the next talk. So
So maybe in this story, I'm not quite sure what's happening.
What's Francis on do?
I love being in Newcastle.
I do love being in New Cross, actually.
It's a bicycle.
I need a bicycle. I have a bicycle and I have a very silly hat.
The expression, the offensive expression you've got.
Yeah, yeah,
Fancy wants to make Newcastle green.
that's true. I've been doing my park life project, helping young people improve their local park.
Oh, there you go.
Mm.
It's grown.
Yeah, we've just got news that they're going to have a community garden in Fordham Park.
Brilliant.
They've got a water fountain now because of us, because of the project.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Mm. And we're getting regular litter picks.
Right,
Fancy. I think I'm just worried about we've got 3 more minutes. Let's just see if there's any questions. Have you got any questions, Dan?
Any questions? Maybe put them in the chat if you've got any questions for Guy.
somewhere from the school.
Yeah. That's classic.
It's a lot of fun. I love all the plants and the. That's a really annoying experience.
I know. Let's get thrown back. Do that. What do you think?
With the really long tail. I drew a hair that's nearly pretty.
Oh wow, look at that.
Some of your pictures. Has anyone got any pictures? See your picture.
Trying to grow a hair, but it's became enormous.
It's a new. You remind me looking at 50s. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Always like that. Oh, lovely. I'm a fan of watching it actually. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's nice. Oh, lovely. Sharp. Yes. Oh, lovely. Terry.
That's what Stephanie said in the chat. Christine must
Is that
love
teddy bear in the rain? Oh, I love your lovely.
Oh right.
Lovely teddy bear in the rain there, like that. Did I see any stories? Oh, lovely. Have it. Oh, brilliant. Some very good artists along here.
Would you be able to identify? I need to go and get Graham to sort that out on the screen out. Is that all right?
What do you want to do? Hello.
Oh, I
Very nice.
Sorry. and then give us everyone a 5 minute break. Okay.
Oh, lovely. Very nice. Lots of legs.
Just put it on the screen so we can see the last bit.
Wow, not that.
The last picture.
Yeah, just so it's kind of rather than. It doesn't look so it's a way to.
Yeah, definitely. Share.
Love the berry.
That one, yeah.
Are there any questions?
I think it might be time to wind up because we've got Eric and Rosine here who's going to be doing the next talk, and I'd like to give everyone a 5 minute break. But I think Vicky just wants to say.
Just before we finish, I wanted to say an enormous thanks to Guy for a really inspirational, really interesting, really insightful, really thoughtful talk. And I love all the idea about kind of being, kind of having fallow periods as well and difficult periods, and then just, interested in how things develop. So I've learned a lot this kind of really thinking quite deeply about the process of writing, but creating. So a wonderful warm applause for that. Thank you. Picture books that are coming out. The person who set up the IT for us today was a teacher out in the primary school, Isaac. So thanks to him. But he immediately said, "I've read your books. I've used those in schools. I've used this one. Did you do that one?" And so he was thrilled to kind of come and see him start. And I'm sure that lots of you out in schools will know Guy's books very well. And if you don't, have a look. Thanks a lot.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for sharing your story. Very